Many years before, the whole world thought that Earth is the center of the world. But 400 years before, Galileo, an Italian scientist, aligned two lenses. He found that by doing this, distant objects can be seen closer. Small-scale telescopes have existed before, but they were only used in sea voyages. But by improving the telescope, Galileo, for the first time in the history of mankind, turned the telescope towards the sky, from which he saw sun and moon very closely for the first time.
Galileo began to conduct a survey of these movements. If 1,300 worlds are combined, this makes one Jupiter. He saw that this is also round, same as the rest of the planets. But the light above Jupiter is changing completely on different days of the month. The same is the case with Venus and Saturn as well. Now, this was only possible when all these objects are moving around the sun, not around the world. Galileo told these things to the whole world that the center of the universe is not the Earth, but the sun.
But hearing this, all the churches of Europe became his enemies, because the idea of the Pope of that time was that Earth is the center of the universe. And this was not the idea of only Pope, but of the whole world. Because of this, Galileo got this punishment from the church, that he would be looked in home forever. But Galileo continued his work, and later his researches was recognized by the whole world, even the Pope, 350 years after Galileo died. Pope asked him for forgiveness in front of the whole world and said that we were wrong and you were right. Gradually, we came to know that the Earth is not the center of the universe, but revolves around the sun, and the sun is not such a big thing. Rather, the sun is a small part of the Milky Way galaxy, which is like the millions and billions of stars. And this Milky Way galaxy is made up of billions of stars. And all these billions of stars are moving in the same circle. We are revolving around the sun. Then billions and trillions of stars, like the sun, are revolving around what? Supermassive black hole. A black hole that is 400,000 times more massive than our sun has placed the entire galaxy in a round circle, like the sun who has placed the Earth, Jupiter, Mars in the same circle. But this galaxy is also not such a big thing either. Rather, it is a small part of a cluster of millions of galaxies. These millions of galaxies together form a cluster. And this cluster is not such a big thing either. Instead, millions of clusters like these are joined together to form a supercluster, and there are thousands of such superclusters. Now, did you note that in all these stars, planets, and galaxies have one thing in common, that everything in the universe is revolving around some other object? And when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also went to Mi'raj towards the sky, they did not saw the angels praying in Bait al-Ma'mur. They were also moving in circle around something. But what does moving in circle have to do with worship? Allah said that these all things worship. Do you know in what surah Allah said this? In Surah Hajj. During the Hajj, Muslims from all over the world go to Kabba, the most holy place, and they circle around it again and again. Now, what does circling mean? When a Muslim circle around the Kabba, he is not the one who circles alone, but he joins to worship with planets, moon, stars, galaxies who are also circling or worshiping. They do not worship like us, but we go to Makkah and worship like them. But in this verse, it is written that these things prostrate to Allah. Prostration does not mean like only our prostration. Rather, working according to the system of Allah is also called prostration. But Allah did not only mention stars, planets, and galaxies in these verses. Rather, everything, trees, animals, and mountains have been said also to prostrate, but they do not move in circles. A concept formed in ancient Greece thousands of years ago. Everything in the universe is made up of a very small particle called atom. This concept was forgotten by the world for 2,000 years. But 200 years ago, this concept was researched again. Research by quantum mechanics revealed that the atom is not the smallest particle. Rather, within it, there are more particles, like protons, neutrons, electrons, Protons and neutrons are always in the center of an atom, and electrons are always moving around them, in exactly the same way that planets revolve around the sun and stars revolve around black holes, which means that everything in the universe is circumambulating something or the other, whether it wants to or not. And when a Muslim goes to circumambulate the Kabba, with the smallest thing, the electron in atom, to the biggest thing in the universe, like planets, stars, galaxies, he worships like them. Maybe this is why circumambulation is the biggest act of worship in Islam. So when Allah said in Surah Hajj that all these things worship me, it doesn't mean that worship like us. Rather, we circumambulate the Kaaba in Mecca and worship like them. But all these things circumambulate at a fixed time. Subscribe.